World War II was described as the most popular war the United States has ever fought. With a great proportion of the country participating in the war, millions served in the armed forces and army troops, combating fascism as well as racism emitted by Hitler's Germany. What Howard Zinn intended to explore was if this was indeed a people's war. Was there an undercurrent of reluctance? Were there signs of resistance that remain unspoken of today? First of all, Zinn offers a criticism of the American textbooks, which embellish the role of the United States in worldly affairs. He states that the so-called liberty that Americans seem to use as an excuse to accomplish their economic goals is in fact a sham. For example, the intervention in Cuba, disguised as help to win Cuban independence from Spain, turned out to be to plant themselves in the area with a military base, investments, and rights of intervention. In the period between 1900 and 1933, the United States actually intervened in Cuba 4 times, in Nicaragua twice, in Panama 6 times, in Guatemala once, and in Honduras 7 times. And all of this was for economic benefit, as by 1924, the money of half of these Latin American states were being directed towards the United States. Another point that Howard Zinn emphasized was the massive bombing of the civilian populace in Europe and Japan. Although the Pearl Harbor was presented to the American public as a sudden immoral act, it wasn't as sudden to the government who already saw it coming. The event that seemed to have been the match lighting up US-Japanese conflicts resulted in drastic consequences. According to the interviews of hundreds of Japanese civilians and military leaders, they reported that Japan would have surrendered even if the atomic bombs had not been dropped. It is known that American leaders have known this in August 1945, since they intercepted Japanese messages with instructions to work out peace negotiations. It is known that the bombing of Nagasaki could have been avoided if the Americans were willing to let the holy figure, the Japanese emperor, stay in his place. Even so, it wasn't done due to the American need to test out their military weapons with a valid reason. Events right after the war made it so much easier to build up public support for the anti-communist crusade at home. In 1948, the Soviet Union that year blockaded Berlin, which was a city isolated inside the Soviet sphere of East Germany, forcing the United States to airlift supplies into Berlin.